Hello, you tired little peeps. It's that time once again. So let's snuggle up fast because tonight we're traveling back in time to look at the slow, deliberate, and intricate world of the Roman legal system and the daily rituals of an ancient advocate. So if you are new to the channel or returning, liking the video significantly helps. Also, please let me know where you're listening in from and what time it is for you. Now get comfortable and let's begin. The first light of dawn has not yet broken over the 7 hills of Rome. The city is suspended in that fragile gray quiet that exists only for a moment before the great metropolis begins to stir. You are awake before the sun. This is the life of a Roman advocatus, a man of the courts, a speaker of words, a weaver of laws. Your eyes open to the familiar dim ceiling of your cubiculum, the small bedroom in your domus. The air is cool, still holding the chill of the night, and there is a heavy silence in the house, broken only by the faint, rhythmic breathing of the household still asleep. You do not rise quickly. There is no need for haste in the world of the law, only precision. You shift beneath the wool blankets, feeling the texture of the fabric against your skin, grounding yourself in the reality of the morning. Today is a day of the court. Today, you will stand in the Basilica Julia, or perhaps the open expanse of the Forum, and you will argue a case. But that is hours away. For now, there is only the ritual of waking. Slowly, you sit up. The wooden shutters of the small window are closed tight, blocking out the street, but you can sense the shift in the atmosphere outside. The night watchmen are finishing their rounds. The bakers have long since fired their ovens. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, your feet finding the cool mosaic floor. The stones are smooth, polished by years of use, cool against your soles. You stand and stretch, feeling the stiffness of sleep leave your limbs. A soft knock comes at the door. It is your personal slave, the one who assists you with the morning toilette. He enters quietly, carrying a basin of water and a cloth. There is no conversation, only the soft sound of water being poured into the basin. You wash your face, the water shocking the last remnants of sleep from your eyes. You dry your skin with the rough linen towel, the friction warming your cheeks. Then begins the most important ritual of the morning, the dressing. For a Roman citizen, and especially for a man of the law, clothing is not merely a covering. It is a uniform, a symbol, a declaration of status and intent. First comes the tunic. It is made of fine, white wool, falling to your knees. You pull it over your head, adjusting the belt at your waist so that the folds hang correctly. It must not be too loose, suggesting slovenliness, nor too tight, suggesting vanity. It must be precise. But the tunic is only the foundation. Now comes the toga, the heavy, voluminous, white woolen cloth that defines you as a Roman. You cannot put it on alone. Your servant steps forward, holding the gathered fabric. This is a dance you have performed 1,000 times. He places one end of the toga over your left shoulder, allowing the fabric to drape down towards your feet in front. You hold your left arm still, a pillar for the garment. He takes the rest of the long, semicircular cloth and brings it around your back, under your right arm, and then throws the remaining fabric over your left shoulder again. It sounds simple, but the art lies in the folds. The sinus, the large pouch of fabric created by the drape across the chest, must be arranged just so. It must be deep enough to hold a scroll or a wax tablet, but elegant enough to show the quality of the wool. The umbo, the smaller clump of fabric pulled up from the waist, is tucked tightly to hold the entire structure in place. You stand patiently as he adjusts the pleats. The wool is heavy. It restricts your movement. It forces you to walk with a certain measured dignity. You cannot run in a toga. You cannot labor in a toga. You can only govern, debate, and judge. The weight of it on your left shoulder is a constant reminder of your duty. You check your reflection in a polished bronze mirror. The whiteness of the toga virilis, gleams in the low light of the oil lamp. You look the part. You are a pillar of the state. With the dressing complete, you move to the atrium. The household shrine, the lararium, sits in the corner. You pause for a moment, sprinkling a pinch of incense onto the small flame burning there, a silent offering to the lares and penates, the guardian spirits of your home. You ask for clarity of voice, for sharpness of mind, and for the favor of the judges. The smoke rises in a thin, straight line, disappearing into the shadows of the high ceiling. You eat a meager breakfast, the ientaculum, a piece of bread dipped in wine, perhaps a few olives or a small piece of cheese. It is not a meal for pleasure. It is fuel. Your throat must be clear, your stomach settled. Heavy food would only make you sluggish in the afternoon heat of the courts. You chew slowly, mentally rehearsing the opening lines of your speech, the exordium. You whisper the phrases under your breath, testing the rhythm of the Latin, feeling the cadence of the vowels. Now, it is time to leave. You step out of your front door and into the street. The sun has just crested the horizon, painting the sky in pale shades of apricot and violet. The air is filled with the smell of wood smoke and baking bread. The street is already coming alive. You are joined by your clients, the clients, who have gathered outside your door to escort you to the forum. This is the deductio, the morning procession. They greet you with murmurs of Ave Patrone, their voices low and respectful. You begin the walk. Your sandals, the calce, specifically the black leather shoes of a senator, or the distinct footwear of the equestrian order, click rhythmically against the basalt paving stones. The sound is sharp and authoritative. You walk in the center of the group, surrounded by your entourage. They clear a path for you through the growing crowds. The city of Rome is a sensory tapestry. You pass a fountain where women are filling clay jars, the water splashing noisily into the stone basin. You pass a shop where a barber is sharpening his razor on a leather strap, the shh sound cutting through the morning air. You pass the heavy, trundling wheels of a wagon leaving the city. Wagons are forbidden during the day, so the last of the night's deliveries are rushing to exit the gates. As you get closer to the center of the city, the buildings grow larger, more imposing. The narrow, winding streets open up. The noise level rises, a hum of thousands of voices, the heartbeat of the empire. But you remain calm, wrapped in your heavy wool toga, a sphere of silence amidst the chaos. You are focused. You are preparing your mind to enter the arena of words. Ahead, the Forum Romanum opens up like a vast stage. The morning sun strikes the white marble of the temples, making them glow with an almost blinding intensity. The temple of Castor and Pollux, the temple of Saturn, the great basilicas. The air here tastes of dust and old stone. This is the center of the world. This is where laws are made, where reputations are destroyed, and where you will spend your day. You direct your steps toward the Basilica Julia. It is a massive structure, a forest of columns supporting a high roof. It is open on the sides, allowing the air to circulate, but roofed to protect from the sun and rain. Even from a distance, you can hear the low roar of the crowd within. The Centumviral Court, the court of the 100 judges, is in session today. You ascend the steps of the basilica, your clients falling back slightly. You adjust your toga one last time, ensuring the sinus is perfectly draped. You take a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the forum, a mix of humanity, hot stone, and the dry, papery smell of scrolls. You step between the columns and into the shade of the great hall. The day has officially begun. Stepping across the threshold of the Basilica Julia, the first thing you notice is the change in temperature. The intense, direct heat of the Roman sun is instantly replaced by a cool, cavernous shade. The air here is still, trapped between the forest of columns that stretch out in every direction. It is a relief to the skin, a moment of physical respite before the mental exertion begins. The basilica is not merely a building, it is a landscape of marble and shadow. The floor beneath your feet is a sprawling mosaic of colored stones, giallo antico from Numidia, rich purple porphyry from Egypt, and the clean white Luna marble from the north. As you walk, your heavy leather sandals make a distinct, echoing clack against the polished surface. If you look down, you can see the faint scratches etched into the steps and the pavement, grid lines for dice games carved by bored idlers and soldiers who seek shelter here when the courts are not in session. But today, there are no games. Today, the floor belongs to the law. The space is vast, a cathedral of commerce and justice. The central nave rises high above you, flanked by double aisles on each side. The ceiling is lost in the gloom above, a grid of wooden beams and coffers that seem to float over the heads of the people below. Shafts of sunlight pierce through the clear-story windows, high up near the roof, cutting through the dusty air like solid beams of gold. In these beams, you can see the dust motes dancing, swirling in the slow currents of air moved by the hundreds of bodies filling the hall. The acoustic landscape of the basilica is unique. It is a continuous, low-frequency hum. It is the sound of 100 conversations happening at once, the rustle of stiff fabrics, the shuffling of feet, and the distant rhythmic booming of orators speaking in other sections of the hall. The centum viral court, which deals with matters of inheritance and property, is often divided into 4 separate tribunals operating simultaneously. Sometimes, when a particularly loud advocate bellows a point in one corner, the sound rolls through the entire basilica, momentarily drowning out the quieter arguments nearby. You have learned to tune this out. You have learned to create a cone of silence around yourself, focusing only on the voices that matter. You navigate through the crowd. There are spectators everywhere, the corona, the ring of onlookers who come to watch the trials as a form of entertainment. They stand behind the rope barriers, leaning in, eager for scandal, for drama, for a display of rhetorical brilliance. Some are students of rhetoric, clutching their own wax tablets, here to learn from the masters. Others are merely the unemployed of the city, seeking distraction from the monotony of the day. They part for you as you approach your assigned tribunal. The prestige of your toga and the determined set of your jaw serve as your pass. You reach the designated area for your case. It is marked off by low wooden screens and heavy curtains that dampen the sound slightly, though they do nothing to block the view. The furniture is simple, functional, and worn smooth by generations of use. There are the subcellia, the wooden benches where the advocates and the parties sit. They are hard, backless, and unforgiving. You will spend hours on these benches today. You find your client waiting for you. He stands as you approach. He is a man of middle years, usually respectable. But today he is dressed in the sordidatus, mourning clothes. His toga is made of dark, rough gray wool, unwashed and stained. His hair is deliberately disheveled, and he is not shaved for several days. This is not an accident. It is a calculated theatrical choice. In the Roman courts, appearance is an argument in itself. By looking ragged and pathetic, he hopes to garner the pity, the misericordia of the judges. He looks anxious, his hands twisting a piece of fabric. "Ave," you say to him, your voice low and steady. You place a hand on his shoulder, not just in greeting, but to ground him. You can feel the tension in his muscles. The judges are assembling. Is the witness present? He nods, gesturing to a nervous-looking man standing in the shadows of a column. He is here. He is afraid. Good. You reply calm. Fear makes a man careful with his words. Let him be afraid. You move to your bench and sit. Your servant places your capsa, the cylindrical leather box containing your documents, at your feet. You bend down and open it. The smell that rises from the box is the scent of your profession, the earthy, sweet smell of beeswax and the dry, grassy scent of papyrus. You pull out a wooden tablet, a tabula. It comprises 2 pieces of wood bound together with leather thongs, the inner surfaces coated in black wax. You take your stylus, a sharp instrument of bronze. With the flat end, you smooth over a section of the wax, erasing a note from yesterday. With the sharp end, you prepare to write. You run your thumb over the point. It is sharp enough to pierce skin. In the hands of a Roman lawyer, it is a weapon. You look up to survey the tribunal. The judges, the centumviri, are beginning to take their seats. They are a large panel, drawn from the tribes of Rome. They are men of varying ages and backgrounds, draped in their own togas, chatting amongst themselves as they settle onto the tiered benches, arranged in a semicircle. Some look bored, already anticipating a long day of tedious arguments about property lines or contested wills. Others look stern, taking their duty with the utmost gravity. You scan their faces, recognizing a few. That one there, the elderly man with the aquiline nose. He is a stickler for the letter of the law. The younger one next to him, he is known to be swayed by emotional appeals. You make a mental note. You will have to tailor your speech to reach them both. Across the open space, separated by the checkered marble floor, sit your opponents. The opposing counsel is already there. He is arranging his own toga, looking over at you with a practiced expression of indifference. You know him. You have faced him before. He is loud, aggressive, fond of grand gestures and shouting. You prefer a different style, colder, more logical, dissecting the truth with surgical precision. It will be a clash of styles as much as a clash of facts. The air in the tribunal seems to thicken as the moment of commencement draws near. The chatter of the crowd behind the ropes dies down to a hush. The casual movements of the judges cease. A herald steps forward, his voice cutting through the remaining murmur. Silentium. The word hangs in the air. The trial is about to begin. You take a deep breath, inhaling the dust and the tension. You feel the familiar tightening in your stomach, not of fear, but of readiness. You pick up your stylus. The world outside the basilica, the noisy streets, the heat, the vendors, has ceased to exist. There is only this space, these judges, and the story you are about to tell. The presiding magistrate, the praetor, takes his seat on the sella curulis. It is a distinctive chair, an ivory folding stool with curved legs, a symbol of high office that dates back to the time of the kings. He does not sit comfortably. His posture is rigid, embodying the authority of the state. He signals for the proceedings to commence. The water clock, the clepsydra, is brought forward. This object is crucial to your day. It is a large earthen vessel filled with water, which drips slowly into a lower container through a precisely calibrated hole. This is the arbiter of time. It dictates how long you can speak. Unlike the infinite patience of the gods, the Roman courts have limits. You watch the attendant check the flow. If the water runs out before you finish your argument, your voice is silenced, your case potentially lost. You have been allotted 2 clepsydre for your opening statement, roughly 40 minutes. It is a generous amount, but every drop counts. The opposing counsel stands first. As the plaintiff, the burden of proof is initially his. He rises slowly, gathering the folds of his toga in his left hand, striking a pose of righteous indignation. He begins to speak. His voice is a booming baritone, designed to carry over the background hum of the basilica. He paces back and forth, the heels of his sandals striking the floor to emphasize his points. You listen. You do not look at him directly. Instead, you look down at your wax tablet, your stylus hovering. You are not just hearing his words. You are dismantling them. He claims your client, a man named Marcus, unduly influenced his dying uncle to change his will. He paints a picture of your client as a schemer, a flatterer, a captator, a legacy hunter who whispers poison into the ears of the elderly. It is a standard narrative, a trope well known to the courts. The crowd behind the ropes murmurs in appreciation. They love a villain. The opposing lawyer waves his arms, his toga flapping like the wings of a great white bird. He points an accusing finger at your client, who, following your instructions, hangs his head and looks suitably crushed. You make a scratch in the wax. Argumentum ad hominem, you note. He attacks the man, not the facts. No proof of coercion, you write below it. Dates do not align. You are building your defense, brick by brick, in the silence of your own mind, while the storm of his rhetoric rages around you. The water clock drips, drop by drop. Time is liquid here. You watch the water level in the top vessel lower imperceptibly. The lawyer's voice rises to a crescendo. He is sweating now. You can see the sheen on his forehead. He is working hard for his fee. He concludes with a dramatic flourish, appealing to the sanctity of the family and the ancient traditions of Rome, begging the judges to right this grievous wrong. He sits down, chest heaving, looking pleased with himself. Now, the silence stretches. The eyes of the 100 judges turn to you. The eyes of the crowd turn to you. The praetor nods in your direction. It is your turn. You do not stand immediately. You let the silence hang for a heartbeat longer, disrupting the rhythm he established. Then, you rise. You do not jump up. You unfold. You are calm. You adjust your toga on your shoulder, a movement of deliberate composure. You step out from behind the bench, moving into the open space of the mosaic floor. You do not begin with a shout. You begin with a whisper. Judges, you say, your voice low but projected, forcing them to lean in to hear you. We have heard much of anger. We have heard much of outrage, but we have heard very little of truth. You start to walk. Your pace is slower than your opponent's. You move with the gravity of a man burdened only by the weight of facts. You approach the judges, making eye contact with the ones you identified earlier, the stern one, the emotional one. You speak to them as if you are having a conversation in a private room, not a public hall. My client, you gesture gently to the man in the mourning clothes, is not a villain. He is a nephew who loved his uncle. And love, as we know, is often mistaken for influence by those who are jealous of it. You begin your narratio, the statement of facts. You strip away the theatrical paint your opponent applied and reveal the dry wood beneath. You cite dates. You cite the exact location of the uncle's villa. You describe the uncle's state of mind, lucid, sharp, commanding, up until his final breath. You do not wave your arms. You use your hands precisely. A finger raised to emphasize a point of law, an open palm to show honesty, a clenched fist to show the solidity of your evidence. The water clock drips. You are in the flow now. The Latin rolls off your tongue, a language built for order and structure. You construct sentences that are like architecture, subordinate clauses acting as buttresses, supporting the main verb which comes at the end like a keystone, locking the meaning into place. You feel the rhythm of the rhetoric, the rise and fall of the pitch. You notice the crowd has gone quiet. They are no longer looking for scandal. They are listening to the story. You have captured them. You turn to the witness, the nervous man your client brought. It is time to bring him into the light. Call the physician, you command. The nervous man steps forward. He is a Greek, a medicus. He speaks Latin with a slight accent. You guide him through his testimony. You are gentle with him. You need him to be credible. He describes the uncle's health, his clarity of mind. He produces a scroll, his medical logs. This is physical evidence. The opposing lawyer tries to interrupt, to object, but you cut him off with a sharp look and a citation of the 12 tables. The judges are nodding. The stern one is taking notes on his own tablet. The emotional one looks sympathetic towards your client. You are turning the tide. The sun has moved. The shaft of light that was hitting the floor has shifted, now illuminating the dust motes around your head. You feel the heat of the exertion, the sweat trickling down your back under the wool, but you do not wipe it away. To show discomfort is to show weakness. You glance at the water clock. The top vessel is nearly empty. You have timed it perfectly. You move to your peroratio, the emotional conclusion. You drop your voice again. You speak of duty, of the bond between blood relations, of the sacred wish of the deceased which must be honored. Do not let envy rewrite a dying man's last testament, you say, your voice resonating in the sudden stillness of the court. Let the law stand. Let the will stand. You stop. You hold the final pose for a second, letting the words settle like dust. Then you turn and walk back to your bench. As you sit, the last drop of water falls from the clepsydra. You sit. The moment your weight settles onto the hard wooden bench, the adrenaline that held you upright begins to recede, leaving behind a heavy, pleasant fatigue in your limbs. You can feel the sweat cooling on your skin beneath the layers of wool. The silence you commanded moments ago is broken. The hum of the basilica rushes back in to fill the void, a tide of noise returning to the shore. The coughing of judges, the shuffling of sandals, the low murmuring of the crowd analyzing your performance. Your client leans in, his eyes wide, his hands trembling less now. You spoke well, he whispers, grasping for reassurance. Did they believe us? You do not answer immediately. You reach for a cup of water your servant has poured. The metal cup is cool in your hand. You take a slow sip, letting the liquid soothe your throat, which feels raw and dry from 40 minutes of continuous projection. We have given them a reason to doubt, you say finally, placing the cup down with a soft clink. That is enough for now. The seeds are planted. Now we must let them grow while we wait. The praetor signals a recess. It is midday. The sun is at its zenith, directly overhead. The shafts of light that angled through the windows earlier have shortened and intensified, creating pools of blinding white on the floor. The court will break for prandium, the midday meal. It is a necessary pause in the machinery of justice. You rise, your joints stiff from the tension. You signal to your client to stay close, but to remain silent. You need a moment of separation from the emotional weight of the case. You step out of the roped-off enclosure, your toga feeling heavier now than it did in the morning. The wool seems to have absorbed the humidity of the crowd. Walking toward the edge of the basilica, you move from the deep shade of the interior out onto the steps that lead down into the forum. The heat hits you like a physical blow. It is a dry, dusty heat that smells of hot marble and horses. The forum is teeming. At this hour, the center of Rome is a chaotic swirl of commerce and social posturing. You find a spot in the shadow of a column on the portico, a small island of relative calm. Your servant brings a napkin containing your lunch. It is simple fare. A lawyer does not feast at midday. A heavy belly makes for a dull mind. There is a piece of crusty bread, a few slices of cold roasted pork left over from last night's dinner, and a handful of dried figs. You break the bread slowly, watching the world go by as you eat. Directly across from you, near the Temple of Castor, the bankers, the Argentarii, are busy at their tables. You can hear the clatter of coins being counted, the scratch of styluses on tablets, the haggling over exchange rates. They are the lifeblood of the city's economy, just as you are the guardian of its laws. You watch a merchant arguing over a loan, his hands moving frantically. It is a trial of a different sort, settled not by judges, but by gold. A group of slaves passes by, carrying a wealthy matron in a litter. The curtains are drawn back slightly, and you catch a glimpse of a fan moving lazily back and forth. Runners clear the path ahead of them, shouting, "Make way! Make way!" The crowd parts like water, and then closes up again instantly behind them. You chew a fig, savoring the sweetness. It is a small pleasure, a moment of sensory grounding. You close your eyes for a brief second, shutting out the visual noise. You listen to the soundscape of Rome at noon. It is a roar, but if you listen closely, you can pick out individual threads. The rhythmic hammering of a coppersmith repairing a pot, the barking of a stray dog near the rostra, the distinct melodic cry of a sausage seller hawking his wares to the hungry crowd. A colleague approaches, another advocate you know from the circuit. He looks as tired as you feel. He leans against the column next to yours, wiping his brow with a cloth. "Long morning?" he asks, his voice raspy. "Inheritance case," you reply, keeping it brief. "The usual, a weeping nephew, a greedy cousin." He nods, understanding perfectly. "I have a boundary dispute in the lower court. 2 farmers arguing over a single olive tree. They have spent more on my fee than the tree will produce in 10 years. You both smile. It is the absurdity of the human condition that keeps you both employed. You share a moment of silent camaraderie, 2 soldiers in the war of words, taking a breath before returning to the front lines. You finish your meal and brush the crumbs from your lap. You take a sip of pasca, water mixed with vinegar and herbs, from a flask your servant offers. It is sharp and refreshing, cutting through the lethargy of the heat. It is time to return. The sun has moved slightly past the meridian. The shadows are beginning to stretch again, pointing towards the east. The recess is ending. You can see the judges filing back into the basilica, their movements slow, heavy with their own lunches. You stand up, adjusting the folds of your toga. You check the sinus, ensuring it hasn't slipped. You are re-armoring yourself. You take a deep breath of the hot, dusty air, holding it for a moment, then exhaling slowly. You turn your back on the bright, noisy confusion of the forum and step back into the cool, echoey gloom of the Basilica Julia. As you walk back to your bench, your mind shifts gears. The morning was for storytelling, for setting the scene. The afternoon will be for the altercatio, the debate, the cross-examination, the fight. The opposing counsel is already there, reviewing his notes. He looks up as you approach, his eyes narrowing. He is ready. You sit down. You pick up your stylus. You smooth a fresh patch of wax on your tablet. The water clock is refilled. The water is calm and still, waiting for the plug to be pulled. You are ready. The afternoon session begins not with a speech, but with a skirmish. The altercatio. This is the part of the trial the crowd loves best. The structured monologues are over. Now comes the rapid-fire exchange of questions and answers. The legal swordplay where wit is the weapon and hesitation is the wound. The opposing counsel calls your witness, the Greek physician, back to the stand. You watch closely. The physician is nervous again. He wrings his hands, looking at you for reassurance you cannot give right now. The other lawyer stands close to him. Too close. It is an intimidation tactic. He invades the witness's personal space, looming over him with his toga bunched up like a storm cloud. You say the old man was of sound mind. The lawyer sneers, his voice dripping with skepticism. Yet, is it not true that you prescribed him hellebore, a cure for madness? It is a trap, a classic trap. Hellebore is used for many things, not just madness. You wait, your muscles tensed, ready to object if he steps too far out of line. The physician stammers. It was for his heart, sir. A small dose. To slow the pulse. To slow the pulse? The lawyer booms, turning to the judges with a theatrical laugh. Or to slow his wits. To make him pliable? To make him sign a document he could barely read? He is twisting the facts, knotting them into a noose. You see the judges exchanging glances. The seed of doubt you planted is being dug up. You must act. You stand. Objection, you say, your voice cutting through his laughter like a blade. The advocate is testifying, not asking. Let him ask a question, or let him sit down. The praetor nods. Stick to the questions, he warns the other lawyer. The rhythm of the questioning continues. It is a grueling process. Question, answer, rebuttal, objection. It is a mental tennis match played in a sweltering hall. The air in the basilica has grown stuffy. The smell of unwashed bodies, garlic, and stale wine from the crowd is stronger now. Fans flutter in the gallery like anxious butterflies. You have your turn next. You call the opposing side's witness, a slave from the uncle's household. Slaves cannot testify in the same way citizens can. Their word is often taken only under the threat or the reality of torture. But here, in a civil case involving property, the rules are slightly different, though the atmosphere of coercion remains. The slave is terrified. He keeps his eyes on the floor. You approach him gently. You do not shout. You do not loom. You want to appear as the reasonable alternative to the blustering man across the aisle. You served the evening meal on the Ides, you state, not asking. You brought the wine. Yes, master, the slave whispers. Who was present? The master, and his nephew, the man Marcus. He points a trembling finger at your client. And was the mood festive? You ask, leaning in slightly. Was there anger? Was there shouting? The slave hesitates. He looks at the opposing lawyer, then at you. This is the pivot point. If he says there was fighting, your case for a loving relationship crumbles. No shouting, master, he says finally. They were laughing. They were speaking of old times. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. Laughing, you repeat, turning to the judges to ensure they heard. Not arguing, not coercing, laughing. No further questions. You sit down. You have scored a point. It is a small victory, but victory in the courts is built of such small stones. The afternoon drags on. The light in the basilica changes quality again, turning from the harsh white of midday to a warmer golden hue as the sun begins its descent. The shadows of the columns lengthen, stretching across the floor like the fingers of a giant hand. The dust motes slow their dance. The energy in the room begins to flag. The judges are shifting in their seats, their attention wandering. One is openly yawning behind his hand. It is a dangerous time. A bored judge is a dangerous judge. You must keep them engaged. You and your opponent are both exhausted now. The crispness of the morning rhetoric has frayed. Voices are hoarse, tempers are short. A dispute breaks out over the admissibility of a certain scroll. It devolves into a shouting match. The praetor has to bang his staff on the floor to restore order. Enough, he commands. The sun is setting. We will hear the final summaries. The peroratio. The closing arguments. This is your last chance. The water clock is filled one last time. But now, the water seems to flow too fast. You have so much left to say, and so little time. You stand for the final time today. Your legs ache. Your throat burns. But you straighten your back. You pull your toga tight. You summon the last reserves of your energy. You look at your client. He looks exhausted, defeated by the process itself. You are his only shield. You begin to speak. You weave together the testimony of the physician, the words of the slave, the logic of the dates. You build a fortress of reason. But you end with emotion. You speak of the sanctity of the grave. You speak of the peace of the dead which is being disturbed by the greed of the living. Let the old man sleep, you say softly, your voice cracking slightly with genuine fatigue, which only adds to the effect. Let his will be done. Let his memory be honored, not by fighting over his coins, but by respecting his choice. You finish. You sit. The silence returns, heavy and final. The opposing lawyer gives his closing. It is blustery, but it lacks the fire of the morning. He is tired too. The judges listen, their faces unreadable masks of stone. The praetor stands. The court will consider the verdict, he announces. Judgment will be given on the calends. It is over. For today, there is no immediate resolution. Roman justice is a slow beast. You will have to wait. Your client looks at you, confused. Is that it? That is it, you say, closing your wax tablet. Now we wait. You begin to pack your things. The stylus goes back into its case. The tablet goes back into the box. The crowd is dispersing, flowing out of the basilica like a receding tide, their chatter filling the air again. You feel a sudden, overwhelming weariness. The tension that held you together snaps, leaving you drained. You stand up, and your servant hands you your walking stick. You exit the basilica, stepping out into the late afternoon sun. The light is beautiful now, the golden hour of Rome. The marble temples are bathed in amber light. The shadows are long and soft. The heat has broken, replaced by a gentle breeze coming from the Tiber. You are done with the law for today. Now, you are just a man again. A man who needs a bath. The walk away from the forum is a decompression chamber. With every step you take away from the Basilica Julia, the knot of tension in your chest loosens slightly. The sun is dipping lower, casting long, exaggerated shadows of the statues and columns across the paving stones. The frenetic energy of the business day is winding down, replaced by the more languid, social energy of the evening. You walk slowly. There is no need to rush now. The clepsydra has run dry. The judges have gone home. You are no longer on the clock. You navigate the winding streets, your sandals scuffing softly against the stones. You pass the Temple of Vesta, where the smoke from the sacred fire rises in a thin, pale ribbon against the darkening blue sky. You pass groups of men standing on street corners, dissecting the day's events, their voices low and murmuring. Your destination is the thermae, the public baths. For a Roman, the bath is not merely a place to wash. It is a sanctuary, a club, a second home. It is where the dust of the courts is washed away, both literally and metaphorically. You are heading towards the great baths of Agrippa, or perhaps the newer, more sprawling complex of Trajan on the hill. As you approach the entrance, the architecture shifts. The cramped, chaotic tenements of the city give way to wide open spaces, manicured gardens, and soaring arches. The building looms before you, a mountain of brick and marble, emanating a sense of warm, humid power. You can already smell it, the distinctive scent of wood smoke from the furnaces, the sharp tang of olive oil, and the underlying mineral smell of damp stone. You climb the wide steps, your clients finally bidding you farewell at the door. "Until tomorrow, patron," they say. You nod, grateful for the solitude. You enter the vast precinct. The noise of the city is instantly muffled, replaced by the echoing sounds of the bathhouse, the splash of water, the slap of massage, the murmur of relaxed conversation. You head straight for the apoditerium, the changing room. This is the moment you have been craving since dawn. You enter the long, vaulted hall. It is lined with stone benches and rows of square niches set into the walls, cubbies for clothes. It is busy, filled with men in various stages of undress, but you find a quiet corner. Your personal slave, who has followed you silently all day, steps forward to assist you. The ritual of the morning is reversed. First, the heavy wool toga. He unpins the umbo, the knot at the waist. The tension in the fabric releases. He carefully unwinds the long swath of cloth from your left shoulder, then from around your back. As the weight leaves your body, you let out an involuntary sigh. The toga is a garment of dignity, yes, but it is also a physical burden. It is hot, heavy, and restrictive. Removing it feels like shedding a skin. You rotate your shoulder, feeling the blood flow returning freely to the muscles that have been clamped down all day. The air in the room, cool and tinged with steam, hits your tunic-clad body. Next, the belt is unbuckled. The tunic is pulled over your head. You stand naked now, just one man among many, stripping away the rank and status that defined you in the forum. Here, there are no senators or plebeians, no lawyers or clients. There is only flesh and muscle, weary from the day. You hand your sandals to your slave. The cool stone floor feels grounding against your bare feet. You stretch your toes, which have been encased in leather for 12 hours. You give your slave your signet ring, your seal of office, to guard with his life. He bundles your clothes into one of the niches, keeping a watchful eye on them. Theft in the baths is common, a petty crime that plagues even the highest establishments. You are ready to begin the cycle of the bath, but you do not rush to the water just yet. First, you must prepare the body. You move to the palaestra, the exercise yard. It is an open-air courtyard surrounded by colonnades. The ground is covered in sand. The evening air is pleasant here. You do not engage in heavy wrestling or boxing. You are a man of the mind, not a gladiator, but you need to work the stiffness out of your limbs. You pick up a light medicine ball, a harpastum, tossing it back and forth with an acquaintance you spot. The rhythmic thump-thump of the ball against your palms is soothing. You do some light calisthenics, swinging your arms, twisting your torso, feeling the cracks and pops in your spine. You work up a light sweat, a different kind of sweat than the cold, nervous perspiration of the courtroom. This is honest heat, generated by movement. You feel the blood pumping to your extremities, waking up your body. After the exercise comes the oiling. You move to a bench where an attendant waits. He pours golden olive oil from a small flask into his hands. He begins to rub it into your skin. His hands are strong and practiced. He works the oil into your shoulders, digging his thumbs into the knots of tension that accumulated while you stood before the judges. He works down your back, the oil smelling of lavender and rosemary. The friction warms your skin. You close your eyes, letting your head hang forward. The arguments of the day, the hellebore, the inheritance dates, the greedy nephew, begin to dissolve. They are just words now, floating away. You are no longer a brain floating in a toga. You are a body, grounded and present. You are covered in a sheen of oil and dust from the exercise yard. You feel gritty, heavy, and ready for the cleansing. You stand up, your skin glistening in the torchlight that is beginning to flicker around the perimeter of the courtyard. It is time to enter the heat. You turn towards the heavy bronze doors that lead to the tepidarium. Steam curls out from beneath them, a welcoming ghost, beckoning you inside. You push against the heavy bronze doors. They swing inward on well-oiled hinges, revealing the tepidarium. The transition is immediate but gentle. Unlike the dry, dusty heat of the forum, the air here is soft, warm, and humid. It is a room of equilibrium, designed to prepare your body for the intense temperatures to come. The room is vaulted, the ceiling curving high above, decorated with intricate stucco reliefs of sea nymphs and tritons. But you are looking down. The floor is a masterpiece of black and white mosaic tiles, warmed from beneath by the hypocaust system. The fires burning deep underground, tended by slaves you will never see. The heat radiates up through the stone, seeping into the soles of your feet, a gentle rising warmth that travels up your legs, softening the tight muscles of your calves. You find a marble bench along the wall. The stone is warm to the touch, not cold. You sit, leaning back against the wall, letting your arms hang loose at your sides. The atmosphere here is hushed. The acoustics of the curved ceiling dampen the voices of the other men sitting nearby. Conversations are low, languid murmurs about the price of grain in Egypt or the rumors of a new play at the theater of Pompey. But you do not join in. You are here to disconnect. Your attendant approaches you again. In his hand, he holds a strigil, a curved tool made of bronze, shaped like a sickle with a dull edge. It is time for the cleansing. You offer your arm. He presses the edge of the metal against your oiled skin. With a long, firm stroke, he scrapes down the length of your forearm. Scritch, scritch. The sound is rhythmic and strangely satisfying. The strigil collects the mixture of olive oil, sweat, and the forum's dust that has coated you. It comes away in a gray, heavy sludge, which he wipes onto a cloth. He moves to your chest, then your back, then your legs. The sensation is intense, a deep scraping that feels like it is removing not just the dirt, but the very stress of the day. The outer layer of your existence, the lawyer who argued and fought, is being peeled away, leaving only the man underneath. When the scraping is done, your skin feels raw, tingling, and alive. You are clean, but you are not yet purified. For that, you need the heat. You stand and move toward the next set of doors. These are heavier, and steam is already leaking from the cracks around the frame. You open them and step into the caldarium. The heat hits you like a wall. It is a thick, wet, suffocating heat that instantly opens every pore in your body. The air is opaque with steam, a white fog that swirls around the marble columns. You can barely see the other side of the room. The ceiling is lost in the mist. Moisture condenses on your skin immediately, mingling with the fresh sweat that springs forth. The floor here is hot, truly hot. You have to walk carefully, stepping on the wooden slats or wearing wooden clogs provided for this purpose to avoid burning your feet. The hypocaust is working at full power here. The walls are hot to the touch. The entire room is a giant kiln designed to burn out the impurities of the body. You make your way through the fog to the alveus, the hot water pool. It is a large, rectangular basin lined with white marble steps leading down into the water. You can hear the water lapping gently against the stone. You sit on the edge for a moment, letting your feet dangle in the water. It is hot, bordering on scalding, but your body craves it. Slowly, you slide in. First your calves, then your thighs, then your hips. The water accepts you. You lower yourself fully until the water reaches your chin. You let out a long, low breath, the air bubbling up through the water. Ah! The sensation is total immersion. The heat penetrates deep into your bones. The stiffness in your lower back, from sitting on the wooden bench all day, begins to melt. The tension in your neck, from craning to hear the soft-spoken witness, dissolves. You are weightless. You float slightly, your arms drifting in the current. You close your eyes. In the darkness behind your eyelids, the courtroom finally fades. The face of the opposing counsel blurs and vanishes. The shouts of the crowd are replaced by the gentle drip-drip of condensation falling from the vaulted ceiling into the pool. You are no longer a Roman citizen with responsibilities and debts. You are simply a body suspended in hot water. You stay there for a long time, letting the heat work its magic. You listen to the sounds of the caldarium, the splash of water as someone else enters the pool, the heavy rhythmic breathing of men coping with the heat, the distant clank of the furnace doors being stoked below the floor. Your mind drifts. You think of nothing. This is the otium, the leisure that every Roman strives for. The opposite of negotium, the business of the courts. Here, time stops. There is no water clock measuring your minutes. You can stay here until your fingers prune and your heart beats slow and heavy in your chest. After what feels like an eternity, the heat begins to feel overwhelming. Your heart rate has climbed, your face feels flushed. It is time to cool down. The cycle must continue. You rise slowly from the water, your body heavy and lethargic, water cascading off your skin like a waterfall. You step out of the pool, grabbing the hand of your attendant to steady yourself on the slippery marble. You leave the caldarium, the steam clinging to you as you exit. You bypass the tepidarium. This time, and head for the final chamber of the bath complex. The shock is coming, and you know it will be bracing. You pass through the archway and enter the frigidarium. The change is absolute. If the caldarium was a womb of suffocating warmth, this is a cathedral of ice. The air here is sharp, crystalline, and still. There is no steam to obscure the view. The vaulted ceiling soars high above, painted in cool blues and greens, echoing the depths of the ocean. The noise of the bathhouse seems to die here. The acoustics are different, harder, sharper. Every drop of water that falls from a bather's limb hits the surface of the pool with a distinct musical plink that rings through the vast hall. You stand at the edge of the cold pool. The water is dark, deep, and perfectly still. It looks like a sheet of polished obsidian/glass. You can feel the heat radiating off your own body, a visible aura of steam rising from your skin into the cool air. Your heart is still beating a little fast from the heat of the hot room. You need this. You need to seal the heat inside. You do not hesitate. To hesitate is to invite the shivers. You take a breath and step down. One step. The cold seizes your ankles like an icy shackle. 2 steps. The water rises to your waist. You gasp involuntarily, the air rushing into your lungs. 3 steps. You plunge forward, submerging your shoulders, your neck, the back of your head. The shock is instant and electric. It is not painful. It is clarifying. It is as if a bell has been struck inside your mind. The lethargy of the heat vanishes. Your pores snap shut, locking the warmth of the caldarium deep within your muscles. Your skin tightens. You surface, pushing your hair back from your face, water streaming from your eyes. You tread water for a moment. The cold is bracing. It wakes you up, but not in the way coffee does. It is a clean, physical awakening. You feel solid again. The boundaries of your body, which felt dissolved in the steam, are reestablished. You are you. You are present. You climb out of the pool. Your attendant is waiting with a large, thick towel of coarse Egyptian linen. He wraps it around you immediately. The fabric is rough against your skin, creating friction, generating a new, gentle heat on the surface. He rubs your back, your arms, your legs briskly. You stop shivering. You feel a glow spreading through your limbs, the famous post-bath glow. Your skin feels soft, clean, and renewed. You move back to the dressing room, the apoditerium. It is quieter now. Many men have gone home for their evening meals. You sit on the bench while your slave retrieves your clothes. You do not put the toga back on. The workday is done. The heavy, formal wool is folded carefully and placed in a basket to be carried home. Instead, you put on a fresh tunic. This one is lighter, perhaps a soft color, a pale green or a natural beige. It is the clothing of a private citizen, not a public official. It falls loosely around your body, unrestricted by belts or heavy folds. You slide your feet back into your sandals. They feel different now. Your feet are clean, the skin soft. You stand up. You feel lighter. The weight of the law, the burden of the client's fate, the pressure of the judge's gaze, it has all been washed down the drains of the bathhouse, flowing out into the cloaca maxima and away to the sea. You exit the bath complex. The sun has set while you are inside. The sky is a deep, bruised purple, transitioning to black. The first stars are visible, pinpricks of white light above the silhouette of the Capitoline Hill. The air outside is cooling rapidly. Rome at night is a different city. The prohibition on wagons is lifted at dusk, and you can hear the distant rumble of wooden wheels on stone as the supply carts begin to enter the city gates. The streets are darker, lit only by the oil lamps in shop windows and the torches carried by slaves accompanying their masters. You walk home. Your entourage is smaller now, just your personal slave and a torchbearer to light the way. The shadows dance on the walls of the insula, the apartment blocks, as you pass. You smell dinner cooking, garlic, onions, roasting meat. Your stomach gives a low rumble. You are hungry. You reach your domus. The door is opened by the ianitor, the doorkeeper. "Welcome home, master," he says. You step into the atrium. It is dimly lit, the oil lamps casting a warm, flickering glow on the painted walls. The household is quiet. The frantic energy of the morning departure is gone. This is your sanctuary. You walk to the tablinum, your study, but you do not stop to work. You only glance at the scrolls on your desk, the case notes for tomorrow. You leave them there. They can wait. Tonight is for the family. Tonight is for rest. You head towards the triclinium, the dining room. The curtain is pulled back. Inside, the 3 couches are arranged in a U shape around a central table. Your wife is already there, supervising the slaves as they arrange the dishes. She looks up and smiles. It is a genuine smile, not the polite mask of the courtroom. "The bath was good?" she asks. "It was necessary," you reply, returning the smile. You approach the couch. You do not sit in a chair, you recline. This is the posture of the free Roman, at leisure. You lie on your left side, leaning on your elbow, your legs stretching out. A slave removes your sandals and washes your feet with perfumed water. It is the final shedding of the outside world. You settle into the cushions. You are home. The cena, the main meal of the day, unfolds slowly. There is no water clock here to hurry you. The dining room, the triclinium, is an island of warmth and light. The walls are painted with frescoes of garden scenes, trompe-l'oeil vines, birds, and fountains that make the room feel like an extension of the outdoors, even as the real night deepens outside the shuttered windows. You recline on the lectus medius, the middle couch, the place of honor for the master of the house. The cushions are stuffed with goose feathers, soft and yielding under your tired frame. The table in the center is low, polished wood that gleams in the light of the candelabra. The first course arrives, the gustaccio. It is designed to whet the appetite, not overwhelm it. A silver platter is placed on the table. On it are eggs, hard-boiled and sliced, garnished with a sauce of pine nuts and lovage. There are small dishes of olives, black ones from Syria, green ones from Spain, glistening in oil. There are dormice, roasted and dipped in honey and poppy seeds, a delicacy that crackles sweetly when you bite into it. You eat with your fingers, reaching out to pick up a morsel. The food is simple but flavorful. You wash it down with mulsum, a mixture of wine and honey. It is sweet and strong, warming your stomach. Conversation flows easily. Your wife tells you about the household management, the weavers who came today to sell cloth. The tutors report on your son's progress in Greek. You listen, nodding. It is domestic news, trivial compared to the high stakes of the centumviral court, but infinitely more comforting. It grounds you. It reminds you of why you fight in the arena of words, to protect this, to maintain this order. The main course, the furcula, is brought in. Tonight, it is a roasted pork shoulder, the skin crackling and golden. It is served with a compote of apples and vinegar, cutting through the richness of the meat. There are vegetables too, asparagus, cooked until just tender, and a salad of bitter greens to aid digestion. You eat slowly, savoring the textures. The pork is tender, falling apart at the touch. The wine is switched now to a Falernian, diluted with water in a large crater. It is a good vintage, robust and earthy. You take a sip, letting the liquid roll over your tongue. The alcohol buzz is gentle, softening the edges of your thoughts. Your son enters the room. He is young, perhaps 10 years old. He wears the toga praetexta, the toga with the purple border that marks him as a freeborn child. He does not recline. He sits on a lower stool at the foot of your couch. He looks at you with wide eyes. "Did you win, Father?" he asks. You smile, wiping your hands on a napkin. "The battle is not over, Lucius. But we held the line. We told the truth." "Is the truth enough?" he asks, echoing a question that philosophers have debated for centuries in the very forum you just left. "Sometimes," you answer honestly. "Sometimes it needs a good voice to help it be heard. That is what we do. We give the truth a voice." He nods, satisfied with the answer for now. He takes a piece of bread, dipping it into the gravy on the platter. You watch him. He is the future. One day he will wear the toga virilis. One day he will stand in the Basilica Julia. You hope his voice will be strong. The meal concludes with the second day mense, the second tables, or dessert. Fresh fruit is brought out, apples, pears, and grapes. There are also sweet cakes made with cheese and honey. You peel a pear with a small knife, the skin curling away in a long, continuous strip. The fruit is cool and crisp, cleansing the palate. The slaves clear the table. The lamps are trimmed, their flames brightening again. The evening enters its final phase. This is the time for conversatio, the drinking and conversation after the meal. But tonight, you are tired. You do not invite guests. You do not call for musicians or dancers. You stay on the couch for a while longer, just existing in the quiet comfort of your home. You listen to the sounds of the house settling down, the clatter of dishes in the kitchen as the slaves clean up, the shutting of doors, the night watchman walking past outside, his iron-shod staff striking the cobblestones. Clack, clack, clack. You think back to the trial. You replay the cross-examination in your mind, the physician's hesitation, the slave's whisper. Did you push hard enough? Did you push too hard? The lawyer's mind never truly stops. It is a machine designed to analyze, to question, to doubt. But here, with the taste of sweet wine in your mouth and the warmth of your family nearby, the anxiety is distant. It is a problem for tomorrow's sun. You signal to your slave. It is time to retire. You rise from the couch, your limbs heavy with sleep. You bid good night to your wife and son. You walk slowly through the atrium, the shadows stretching long and distorted on the walls. The household gods in the lararium seem to watch you pass, their small painted faces illuminated by a single votive lamp. You nod to them, a silent thanks for the day's safety. You enter your cubiculum. It is small, intimate, and dark. The window is closed tight against the night air, which Romans believe can carry sickness. A single oil lamp burns on a small table next to the bed. Your bed is high, requiring a small step to climb into. The mattress is stuffed with wool, firm but yielding. You sit on the edge. Your slave helps you remove your tunic. You are naked again, ready for sleep. You lie down. The sheets are cool linen. You pull the heavy wool blanket up to your chin. You turn on your side, staring at the flame of the lamp. It flickers, dancing in the slight draft. You watch it, mesmerized. The day unravels, the sunrise over the hills, the weight of the toga, the dust of the forum, the drone of the judges, the shock of the cold water, the taste of the wine. It all blurs together into a tapestry of sensation. Your eyes grow heavy. The flame becomes a blur of gold. You reach out and extinguish the lamp. The room plunges into darkness. Absolute heavy Roman darkness. Outside, the city of Rome does not sleep. It is a beast that breathes in the night. You can hear the distant rumble of wagons, the shouts of drivers, the eternal hum of a million souls living together. But here, in your room, it is quiet. You are a lawyer. You are a Roman. You have done your duty. And now, you sleep. The days between the hearing and the judgment are a strange limbo. The adrenaline of the altercatio has faded, leaving behind a quiet, gnawing anxiety. The case is no longer in your hands. It is in the minds of the judges. But a Roman advocate does not sit idle. You cannot rewrite the past testimony, but you can prepare for the future. If the judgment is unfavorable, you must be ready for an appeal. If it is favorable, you must be ready to enforce it. Today is not a day for the noisy forum. Today is a day for the silence of the scrolls. You are heading to the Palatine Hill, to the great library of the Temple of Apollo. You leave your house later than usual. The morning rush has subsided. You walk up the Clivus Palatinus, the steep road paved with basalt that winds its way up to the district of the wealthy and the powerful. The air changes as you climb. It becomes cleaner, removed from the stagnation of the lower valleys. The noise of the city drops away, replaced by the sound of wind in the cypress trees and the distant cooing of doves. You reach the Temple of Apollo. It is a masterpiece of white Luna marble, gleaming so brightly in the sun that it hurts the eyes. But you are not here for the gods. You bypass the main sanctuary and head to the portico that houses the libraries, one for Greek, one for Latin. You enter the Latin library. The transition from the bright exterior to the dim interior is profound. The room is vast and rectangular, lined with columns of Numidian yellow marble. In the center stands a colossal statue of Apollo, the god of light and reason, presiding over the wisdom stored here. But the true gods of this room are the books. The walls are lined with wooden presses, the armaria. They are made of citrus wood and inlaid with ivory. They reach from the floor to the height of a man's reach. Inside these presses lie the thoughts of Rome, thousands of scrolls, resting in their pigeonholes like sleeping birds in a dovecote. The air here smells distinct. It is not the smell of sweat or food. It is the dry, sharp scent of papyrus, the sweet, resinous aroma of cedar oil used to protect the books from moths and worms, and the faint metallic tang of iron gall ink. It is the smell of knowledge. You approach the librarius, the slave in charge of the collection. He knows you. You speak in hushed tones. Voices are not raised here. You request the commentaries of the great jurist Servius Sulpicius Rufus, specifically his treatises on wills and inheritance. The librarian moves silently to one of the presses. He scans the silly boy, the small tags of parchment that hang from the ends of the scrolls, identifying their contents. He pulls one out. It is a roll of considerable thickness. He hands it to you with both hands, a gesture of respect for the text. You find a table near a window. The light here is filtered through thin sheets of translucent alabaster, creating a soft, diffuse glow that is easy on the eyes. You sit on a simple wooden stool. You place the scroll on the table. It is an object of beauty. The papyrus is high quality, the hieratic grade, smooth and creamy white, though yellowed slightly with age. The ends of the wooden roller, the umbilicus, are painted gold. You begin to read. This is a physical act. You hold the roll in your left hand and the unrolled portion in your right. As you read, your left hand rolls up the text you have finished, while your right hand unrolls the new text. It is a continuous, flowing motion, a manual scrolling that requires a steady rhythm. Crinkle, rustle. The sound of the dry papyrus is the only noise in the room. You scan the columns of text. The Latin is dense, archaic, and precise. There are no spaces between the words, no punctuation marks to guide you. You must parse the sentences in your mind, separating the verbs from the nouns, the clauses from the main arguments. It is a mental workout as strenuous as any physical labor. You are looking for a specific precedent. You are looking for a case where a man of sound mind was accused of madness due to physical infirmity. You read through long lists of property disputes, cattle theft, and marriage contracts. Your eyes move back and forth, back and forth. Time dissolves in the library. There is no water clock here. The sun moves across the sky, shifting the shadows of the window grates across the table, but you hardly notice. You are lost in the past, conversing with the ghosts of lawyers who argued cases 100 years ago. You find it. A passage about a senator who took poppy juice for pain and was accused of losing his wits. The jurist Rufus argues that pain relief does not equate to the surrender of the will. It is exactly what you need. It validates your argument about the hellebore. You take out your own wax tablet. You copy the passage carefully, word for word. You check it twice. This citation will be your shield if the case goes to an appeal. You sit back, rubbing your eyes. The strain of reading the dense script is catching up with you. You look around the library. A few other men are working at other tables. Scholars, poets, other lawyers. You share a silent bond with them. You are the keepers of the record. You roll the scroll back up. You must be careful to roll it tight and even, so the edges do not fray. You smooth the papyrus one last time. You stand up and return the scroll to the librarian. He nods, sliding it back into its niche. You leave the library. Stepping back out onto the portico, the brightness of the afternoon sun is jarring. You blink, adjusting to the world of the living. You have spent hours in the world of the dead, and you have brought back a weapon. You walk to the edge of the Palatine Hill. From here, you can look down over the Forum. You see the Basilica Julia, tiny from this height, looking like a toy model. You see the crowds moving like ants. You feel a sense of detachment. From up here, the noise and the fury of the court seem insignificant. But you know that down there, lives are changed by the words you found in that quiet room. You begin the descent. Your mind is calm. You have done the research. You have the law on your side. Now, you just have to wait for the kalends. The kalends have arrived. It is the first day of the month, a day of significance in Rome, not just for the moon, but for the ledger. The kalends are when debts are called in, when interest is paid, and when the courts render their most significant judgments. The waiting is over. You wake with a specific kind of alertness. Today does not require the creative energy of the opening speech or the sharp reflexes of the cross-examination. Today requires patience and dignity. You dress with the same meticulous care as before, but today you choose a toga that is freshly whitened with chalk. A toga candida, almost, gleaming to reflect your confidence in the law. The walk to the Forum is different today. The streets are louder, more frantic. Because it is the kalends, the city is obsessed with money. You pass the shops of the numulari, the money changers. There are lines of people waiting to pay debts or restructure loans. The sound of the morning is the metallic chinking of sestertius against denarius, a rhythmic clatter that underpins the usual roar of the crowd. You reach the Forum. It is crowded, but the crowd has a different texture. There are fewer idlers and more businessmen, clutching their account books, their tabulae rationum. You move through them like a ship cutting through choppy water, your eyes fixed on the Basilica Julia. Your client, Marcus, is waiting for you at the base of the steps. He looks as though he has not slept since the trial. His eyes are red-rimmed, his face pale. He is twisting the ring on his finger, round and round. "Patron," he breathes as you approach. "Is it time?" "It is time," you say, your voice calm and grounding. "Stand tall, Marcus. Today we receive the answer." You ascend the steps together. The basilica is full, but the energy is less chaotic than during the pleadings. The subsellia, the benches, are filled with other nervous litigants, all waiting for their own judgments. You find your place. The opposing counsel is there. He nods to you, a professional acknowledgement. The animosity of the altercatio is gone. Today you are just two professionals observing the mechanism of the state. The praetor enters. The lictors clear the way. The distinct sound of the fasces, the bundle of rods with the axe, hitting the stone floor echoes through the hall. Thump, thump. Silence falls. The ceremony of judgment is slow and bureaucratic. It is not designed for entertainment. A herald steps forward holding a stack of wooden tablets. These are the verdicts, written in wax and sealed with the seals of the judges. He calls the cases one by one. You listen to the names. A property dispute in the Subura, dismissed. A case of fraud regarding a shipment of grain, judgment for the plaintiff. The voices are monotone. The Latin is dry. Do, dico, attico. I give, I speak, I adjudge. Finally, your case is called. The matter of the estate of Lucius Aelius, Marcus Aelius versus Gaius Sempronius. The herald hands a tablet to the praetor. The magistrate examines the seals. He turns the tablet over in his hands, checking that the strings are uncut, ensuring the integrity of the decision. He takes a small knife and cuts the linen cord. The sound of the string snapping is tiny, but in your ears, it sounds like a thunderclap. He opens the wooden leaves. He scans the wax. The crowd leans in. Your client stops breathing. The praetor looks up. He does not smile. He does not frown. He simply reads. In the matter of the will, he intones, his voice projecting to the back of the hall. The court finds that the deceased was of sound mind and body. The will stands. The claim of undue influence is rejected. He snaps the tablet shut. Next case. It takes a moment for the words to sink in. There is no applause. This is not the theater. But you feel a sudden, physical release of pressure in your chest. Your client lets out a sound that is half sob, half laugh. He grabs your hand, squeezing it hard. We won, he whispers. We won. The law won. You correct him gently, though you allow yourself a small, tight smile. The estate is yours, Marcus. Go and light a candle to your uncle. He has protected you. You stand up. The opposing counsel gathers his things. He does not look angry. He looks like a man who has calculated the odds and lost. He gives you a brief salute. Well argued, he mouths. You nod in return. Until the next time. You leave the basilica. The sun outside seems brighter now. The noise of the money changers seems less frantic and more musical. You have done your job. You have taken a tangled mess of human greed and emotion, run it through the mill of the law, and produced a clean result. Your client insists on walking you home. He is bubbling with gratitude. He talks of the feast he will throw, the bonus he will pay you. You listen, but your mind is already drifting. The victory is sweet, but it is fleeting. Tomorrow there will be another client. Tomorrow there will be another problem. But for now, there is the sportula. You arrive back at your domus. Your client's slaves have arrived before you, bearing gifts. This is the tradition. Baskets of food, jars of wine, perhaps a heavy purse of coins to top up your fee. They are piled in your atrium. Your own slaves are already sorting through them, their faces bright with the prospect of a good dinner. You retreat to your study. You take off the toga candida. You sit in your chair. The silence of the room is heavy and pleasant. You pick up the scroll of the case, the notes, the research, the copy of the text from the library. You look at it for a moment. It is done. You roll it up tight. You take a piece of fresh papyrus and write a label. Acta causa aliena. Vincit. The acts of the alien case. 1. You stand and walk to the shelf where your own records are kept. You slide the scroll into a pigeonhole. It joins the ranks of the others, a library of your own life's work. You sit back down and close your eyes. You listen to the sounds of your house. The victory does not feel like a shout. It feels like a sigh. It feels like the settling of dust after a storm. You are tired, a deep, bone-weary tiredness that comes only after the tension of the collins has broken. You stay there for a long time, just breathing, letting the silence of the room wrap around you like a soft wool blanket. The law has spoken. And now, finally, you can rest. Success in Rome does not bring silence. It brings a louder kind of noise. The news of your victory in the case of the Aelian estate has traveled through the arteries of the city. It was whispered in the baths, discussed in the barber shops, and analyzed in the porticos. You are no longer just an advocate. You are a victor. And in Rome, everyone wants to be close to a winner. A few days have passed since the verdict. It is early morning again. You are awake, but the peace of your cubiculum is already being encroached upon. Even before you leave your bedroom, you can hear a low, steady hum emanating from the front of your house. It sounds like the ocean caught in a cave. It is the sound of the salutatio. The morning greeting is the heartbeat of the Roman social system. It is the ritual where the binds between patron and client are renewed. Because you won, because your dignity, your prestige, has swollen like a river after rain. The line outside your door is twice as long as usual. You dress quickly. Today you do not need the armor of the advocate, but the robes of the patronus. You enter the atrium. The space is transformed. Usually a place of domestic quiet, it is now packed with bodies. The air is thick with the smell of wool, garlic, and the expectant breath of 50 men. You walk to the tablinum, your office, which sits open at the rear of the atrium. You take your seat on a high-backed chair. Behind you, in their wooden shrines, the wax masks of your ancestors, the imagines, stare down with hollow eyes. They are the silent witnesses to your duty. You are upholding the family name. The ceremony begins. Your nomenclator, a slave with a terrifying memory for faces and names, stands by your shoulder. He whispers into your ear as each man approaches. Gaius Petronius, a baker. You helped his brother with a debt. The man steps forward. He is dusting flour from his tunic. He bows low. Ave, Patronus, he murmurs. You nod. You extend a hand. He takes it, not to shake, but to touch, a gesture of fealty. Gaius, you say, your voice warm but authoritative. How is the bakery? Is the grain supply steady? Better, thanks to the gods, and thanks to you. He hesitates. My son, he is of age. He seeks an apprenticeship. You nod again. You expected this. Speak to my steward. We will find him a place. The man beams. He steps back. Your steward hands him a small basket, the sportula. In the old days, this contained food for the day. Now, it usually contains a small coin, a quadrans or two. It is a pittance, really, but it is the symbol that matters. It says, I feed you. You support me. The line moves. It is a cross-section of Rome. There are men in ragged tunics, the plebs, who need legal protection from landlords or creditors. They look at you with desperate hope. You are their shield against a harsh world. There are men in togas, lesser professionals, who come to be seen, to associate their small reputation with your large one. They offer compliments, flattery, bits of gossip from the forum. There are even a few men of your own rank, friends in the political sense, who stop by to acknowledge your recent win. These you do not give coins to. You rise and embrace them, exchanging the kiss of peace. A fine speech on the calends, one says. The reference to Rufus was masterful. It served the purpose, you reply modestly. The process takes hours. You sit there, the king of your own small court. It is exhausting in a way that is different from the law courts. There, you fight. Here, you absorb. You absorb their gratitude, their needs, their envy, their loyalty. You are knitting a net of influence, one handshake at a time. When you eventually run for higher office, perhaps the praetorship, these are the men who will vote. These are the men who will shout your name in the campus martius. Eventually, the stream of visitors slows to a trickle. The ianitor closes the heavy front doors, shutting out the street. The atrium empties, leaving only the faint smell of the crowd and the dust they tracked in. You stand up and stretch. Your steward approaches with a wax tablet. The list of favors granted today, a letter of recommendation to write, a dispute with a neighbor to mediate, a dowry to help negotiate. The victory in court has only bought you more work. Is that all? You ask, rubbing your temples. There is one more thing, master, the steward says. A young man. He is waiting in the peristyle garden. He is not a client. He is a student. You walk through the house to the peristylium. This is the private part of the home, a colonnaded garden open to the sky. In the center is a fountain, the water splashing gently. Sitting on a marble bench is a youth, perhaps 17. He is dressed in a clean white toga. He stands as you enter, clutching a scroll. He looks at you with a mixture of terror and awe. You recognize that look. You wore it yourself, 20 years ago, when you stood before the great orator Cicero. Av, the boy says, his voice cracking slightly. My father sent me. He says you are the best voice in the forum. You smile. It is a different kind of smile than the one you gave the clients. Your father is kind. What is your name? Lucius, he says. I wish to learn the art. You walk over to the fountain and trail your hand in the water. The art, you repeat. It is not an art, Lucius. It is a grindstone. It grinds you down until you are sharp, or it grinds you into dust. Which will you be? The boy straightens his spine. I will be sharp, sir. You look him over. He has the stands. He has the fire. You nod. Very well. You will shadow me. You will carry my books. You will listen. You will not speak until I tell you to speak. And you will write out the 12 tables until your fingers bleed. Do you understand? Yes, Patronus. Good. Meet me at dawn tomorrow. We have a case of fraud to review. You dismiss him. He practically runs out of the house, brimming with the energy of the start. You watch him go. You feel a sudden weight of responsibility. It is the tirocinium fore, the apprenticeship of the forum. You are now the master. You are passing the torch. The sun is high now. The morning rituals are done. The house settles into the quiet of the midday. You sit by the fountain, listening to the water. You have secured your client's fortune. You have fed your dependents, and you have taken on an apprentice. The web is spun. The system works. But for a moment, in the quiet of the garden, you allow yourself to just look at the flowers. They bloom and die without laws, without judges, without arguments. It is a peaceful thought. You close your eyes, letting the sun warm your face. A lawyer's work is never done, but for this hour, between the salutatio and the next brief, there is a pause, a breath. You take it. The sun has reached its peak. The shadows have retracted into nothingness, hiding directly beneath the objects that cast them. Rome, the city that never truly stops, slows down. This is the hour of the meridiatio, the midday rest. It is a custom dictated by the sun itself. The heat is too oppressive for labor, the light too harsh for the eyes. You leave the garden. The flowers there are drooping slightly, conserving their moisture. You retreat into the deepest, coolest part of the house. The shutters have been pulled tight against the windows, blocking out the fierce white glare of the street. Inside, the house is plunged into a soothing, amber twilight. You lie down on the couch in your study. You do not sleep deeply. It is a light, drifting doze. It is a suspension of the mind. The arguments of the morning, the debts, the favors, the apprentice, float away like leaves on a stream. The house is silent. The slaves are resting in the shade of the colonnades. Even the street dogs have ceased their barking, curled up in doorways. For an hour, you exist in this quiet void. You listen to your own breathing, in and out, slow and steady. It is the only rhythm that matters. Then, gradually, the grip of the heat begins to loosen. The sun takes its first step towards the west. A slight breeze stirs the curtains. You open your eyes. You feel refreshed, the mental fatigue of the salutatio wiped clean. You sit up. You splash your face with water from a silver bowl. You are ready for the second half of the day. This is the time for studium, for reading, writing, and the intellectual architecture of the law. The morning was for people. The afternoon is for paper. You ring a small bronze bell. A moment later, your secretary enters. He is a freedman, a Greek named Alexis. He carries his tools with the reverence of a priest. He sets up a small table near your chair. He lays out the papyrus, the inkwell made of double-barreled bronze, and a handful of reed pens, the kalami. He sharpens a pen with a small knife, the scalprum. Scritch, scritch. The sound is sharp and precise in the quiet room. He dips the reed into the black ink, the atramentum, and looks at you, his hand hovering over the page. He is ready. You begin to dictate. You are drafting a responsum, a legal opinion for a magistrate in the provinces who has written to ask for guidance on a complex matter regarding water rights. To the Honorable Praetor, you begin, your voice low and measured. Alexis writes. You watch the ink flow from the reed onto the fibers of the papyrus. It glistens wetly for a moment before drying into a matte black. The script is cursive Roman, flowing and quick, yet legible. Regarding the aqueduct in the district of Verona, you continue. You pace the room slowly as you speak. Walking helps you think. Your sandals make no sound on the rugs. You construct the sentences in your head, weighing the words, testing the grammar. If the water has flowed for 10 years without interruption, you dictate, pausing to let him catch up. Then a servitude is established by usage. Usucapio libertatis. You stop. You look out the window through the slats of the shutters. You can see dust motes dancing in a single beam of light. You think about the water flowing in Verona, hundreds of miles away. You think about how your words, spoken in this quiet room in Rome, will travel along the Roman roads, cross mountains, and eventually decide the fate of a stream in a farmer's field in the north. It is a strange power. It is not the power of the sword, but the power of the stylus. Read that back. You murmur. Alexis reads. His voice is flat, devoid of emotion, a perfect mirror of your words. You nod. It is correct. Continue, you say. The afternoon wears on. The stack of finished scrolls grows on the table. The smell of the room is a mix of the sharp, metallic ink and the dry, grassy scent of the papyrus. It is a smell you love. It is the smell of order. Your mind enters a flow state. There is no anxiety here, only the puzzle of the law. You are fitting pieces together, precedent, statute, logic, building a structure that will stand up to scrutiny. It is meticulous work. It is boring work to the outsider, perhaps, but to you, it is a form of meditation. The light in the room changes. The amber shifts to a deeper gold, then to a soft gray as evening approaches. The scribe lights an oil lamp. The flame sputters and then settles, casting long, wavering shadows against the walls. The smell of burning olive oil joins the scent of the ink. You rub your eyes. Your voice is tired. The scribe's hand is cramping. Enough, you say gently. We have done enough. Alexis nods, grateful. He cleans the pen, wiping the ink onto a rag. He stoppers the inkwell. He rolls the final scroll, tying it with a red string. He gathers his things and leaves silently. You are alone again. You look at the desk. The work is done. The logic is sound. The law has been served. You sit in the fading light, feeling the heavy, comfortable exhaustion of a day well spent. You have argued, you have judged, you have taught, and you have written. You have lived the life of the mind. You stand and walk to the window, pushing the shutters open. The evening air rushes in, cool and sweet. The city is waking up again for the night, but you are winding down. The sky is a canvas of violet and indigo. The first stars are appearing, the eternal watchers. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the night air. The day's chapter is closed. The scroll is rolled up. The transition from the intellectual rigor of the study to the domestic softness of the evening is gradual. You leave the tablinum, the scrolls rolled and stored, the ink dried and corked. You step out into the corridor. The house has changed its character completely since the morning. What was a bustling thoroughfare of slaves, clients, and family is now a landscape of stillness. The only light comes from the oil lamps placed in niches along the walls. They are small clay vessels, their wicks burning with a steady, low flame. They cast pools of warm orange light on the floor, leaving the spaces in between in deep shadow. You walk through these pools of light, your shadow stretching out long and thin before you, then vanishing, then reappearing behind you. You walk slowly. There is no destination other than rest. You move towards the peristylium once more. At night, the garden is a different world. The columns that surround it stand like pale ghosts against the dark sky. The flowers, the roses and the violets, have closed their petals, hoarding their scent for the morning. The air here is cool and still. Above, the square opening of the roof frames the night sky. It is a deep, velvety black, dusted with the silver sand of stars. You look up. You see the constellations, Orion, the Bear, the Pleiades. They are the same stars that looked down on Romulus when he first plowed the boundary of the city. They are the same stars that looked down on the legions camping on the Rhine and the merchants sailing the Nile. You feel a profound sense of connection. The law you practice is like those stars, a fixed canopy over the chaos of the world. It is the invisible grid that holds the empire together, just as the constellations hold the sky. It is a comforting thought. You are a small part of a great machine, a single brick in a wall that spans the world. You listen. The fountain in the center of the garden sounds louder now that the day's noise has evaporated. Plash, drip, plash. It is a hypnotic rhythm, the heartbeat of the house. You stand there for a long moment, just listening to the water. It has no arguments to make. It has no testimony to give. It simply flows, obedient to gravity, peaceful and constant. You continue your patrol. You are the paterfamilias, the head of the household. It is your instinct to ensure the safety of your domain before you sleep. You check the heavy wooden door at the front entrance. The massive iron bolt is slid home. The lock is secure. The dog, a massive Molossian with dark fur, lifts his head from his mat as you approach. He recognizes your step. He gives a low, contented huff and rests his heavy head back on his paws. You are safe. The fortress is sealed. You pass the small rooms where the household slaves are sleeping. You hear the soft sounds of their breathing, the rustle of straw mattresses. They are resting for tomorrow's labor. You feel a sense of responsibility for them, a heavy but familiar burden. Their lives are tied to yours. You reach your own cubiculum. Your wife is already asleep, her breathing slow and rhythmic. You move quietly so as not to wake her. The room is small, intimate, enclosing. The walls are painted a deep red, a color that feels warm and protective in the lamplight. You sit on the edge of the bed. You begin the final shedding of the day. You unlace your sandals. The leather straps have left faint red marks on your feet. You rub your arches, feeling the tension release. You place the sandals side by side on the floor. They will wait there for the dawn. You remove your tunic. The linen is soft, worn from washing, but it feels good to take it off. The night air touches your skin. You are no longer the advocate in the white toga. You are no longer the patron in the formal robe. You are just a man, made of flesh and bone, tired and ready for the dark. You slip into a fresh, loose sleeping tunic. It is light and airy. You climb into the bed. The mattress, stuffed with wool, yields under your weight. It cradles you. You pull the coverlet up. It is a heavy blanket, woven with geometric patterns. The weight of it is grounding. It presses you down into the mattress, signaling to your muscles that there is no more need to hold yourself up. You lie on your back for a moment, staring up at the ceiling. The shadows from the single lamp you brought in dance gently on the plaster. They are slow, lazy shapes. Your eyes track them, back and forth, back and forth. Your mind begins to replay the day one last time, but in fragments, without emotional weight. The scratch of the stylus, the echo of the basilica, the taste of the figs, the heat of the bath, the coolness of the library, the stars above the garden. They are just images now, passing like clouds. You feel a heaviness in your limbs, a delightful, sinking sensation. Gravity is pulling you down, anchoring you to the earth. The stone walls of your house are thick. They block out the noise. They block out the wind. They block out the worry. You reach out your hand to the small table beside the bed. Your fingers find the cool clay of the oil lamp. You hesitate for a second, watching the flame, the little tongue of fire that has kept the darkness at bay. Then you pinch the wick. The flame dies. A thin wisp of smoke rises, smelling of burnt olive oil, a scent that is the very essence of the Roman night. Darkness fills the room. It is not a frightening darkness. It is a soft, heavy velvet blanket. It wraps around you, filling your ears, covering your eyes. You turn onto your side. You settle your head into the pillow. You close your eyes. The city of Rome continues to turn outside, a wheel of fortune and fate. But inside, you are still. You are drifting towards the shore of sleep. In the darkness, the boundaries of the room begin to dissolve. The walls, which seemed so solid and permanent in the daylight, now feel like mere suggestions of space. You are no longer defined by the dimensions of the cubiculum. You are floating in a vast, warm sea of quiet. The sounds of the world have retreated to a distance so great they might as well belong to another century. The distant rumble of the ox carts on the paving stones is now just a rhythm, a slow, repetitive heartbeat of the earth itself. Rumble, hush, rumble, hush. It does not disturb you. It lulls you. It is the sound of time passing, steady and indifferent. Your breathing slows. It matches the rhythm of the city outside, deep and even. You feel the weight of the wool blanket pressing down on your shoulders, your hips, your feet. It is a good weight. It anchors you. It tells your body that there is nowhere else you need to be. There are no speeches to write. There are no judges to convince. There are no clients to comfort. The ledger of the day is closed. The wax is smooth. Your thoughts, which raced like chariots in the Circus Maximus all day, have finally unhitched their horses. They wander now, aimless and slow. You see flashes of the day, but they are soft, blurred at the edges like a watercolor painting left out in the rain. The white of the toga, soft as a cloud, the blue of the library sky, deep as the ocean, the gold of the olive oil, warm and soothing, the sound of the fountain, drip, drop, drip, drop. The water clock in the court has stopped. Time is no longer measured in drops or shadows. It is measured in the depth of your relaxation. You sink deeper into the mattress. The wool embraces you. The darkness comforts you. You are safe in the heart of Rome. The 7 hills stand guard around you. The Tiber flows endlessly to the sea, carrying away the silt of the day. The stars wheel overhead in their silent mathematical dance, watching over the sleeping empire. You feel a profound sense of peace. The law is order, and you have brought order to your corner of the world. Now, you surrender to the greater law of nature, the law of rest. Your eyelids are heavy, so very heavy. They are sealed shut, and you have no desire to open them. The blackness behind your eyes turns to a deep, restful indigo, drifting, floating, sinking. The Roman lawyer fades away. The ancient city fades away. There is only the quiet. There is only the comfort of the now. Sleep comes not as a conqueror, but as a friend. It steps softly into the room, sits beside you, and places a cool hand on your forehead. The forum is silent. The basilica is empty. The house is still. Rest now. Deep, ancient, timeless rest. Sleep. 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 Good night. If this journey through the duller side of history helped you unwind and maybe even drift off, please let me know. First, hit that like button if you enjoyed this historical lullaby. Second, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future installments of history too boring to keep you awake. Finally, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below about which historical topic you find so mundane. It deserves to be our next sleepy video. Your suggestions will shape our journey into the world's most delightfully dull past.